We got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. Friday, some hard truth this morning. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're with me. Former Congressman Joe Walsh. This is the social contract with Joe Walsh. Hello, TikTok. When I look this way, I'm looking at my TikTok audience. Some hard truth, some uncomfortable truth this morning, this Friday, for Republican voters, for Trump supporters, for all these good people who used to be my supporters, my voters, my followers, my friends, my family. Some hard truth this morning for all of you. Republicans are going to get their ass whooped in the state of North Carolina when it comes to this gubernatorial race. A Democrat will get elected governor of North Carolina, and that Democrat will win overwhelmingly because Republicans of North Carolina, you nominated a bad, horrible guy. You nominated a crazy man. You nominated a Holocaust denier. You nominated someone who said he loves to watch porn. You nominated someone like that. You nominated someone who has spewed unbelievable hate and vitriol toward the LGBTQ community. You nominated someone, North Carolina Republicans, who said women got to keep their legs closed. You nominated Republicans in North Carolina, a bad, horrible guy. And he is going to get destroyed. And the state of North Carolina, because of what you did, North Carolina Republicans, the state of North Carolina is going to get another Democratic governor. Mark Robinson, right? Oh, yeah. I'm here for the comments as well, George. Mark Robinson, this crazy MAGA guy. Again, an avowed Holocaust denier. He's the Republican nominee for governor in North Carolina. A big, old, ugly stuff came out against him yesterday. And before I show you what came out, understand, before this story broke yesterday, there was enough bad, horrible stuff about this guy. But this guy, Mark Robinson, won the primary because he spewed ugly, intolerant, bigoted, misogynist crap. And Republican voters in the state of North Carolina said they wanted it. They got it. Big story broke on Robinson yesterday. Keith, let me see if you got any of those headlines. Mark Robinson called himself a black Nazi. He was part of this porn forum. He admitted that he looked at porn 5 days a week. Not that long ago. He admitted that he loved to watch transgender porn. That came out yesterday. This guy who publicly now during this campaign goes after transgenders, in transgender Americans in the worst and ugliest ways. Turns out the dude has a history of getting off watching transgender porn. He's pro-life, he's told us. This was known during the primary. He pressured women into having abortions. Look, I could go on. I'll get to the end of the story, right? So there was a lot of bad stuff about this bad MAGA candidate. The MAGA candidate won the North Carolina Republican primary over a good, solid conservative. Are you listening, my MAGA Republicans? There was plenty, a lot of this bad stuff was known about him. The fact that he was a Holocaust denier was known about him. The fact that pro-life Mark Robinson forced women to have abortions, that was known about him in the primary. The fact that he loved to watch porn 5 days a week, that was known about him. But yet he still won. And so all this crap comes out yesterday against him. Bad stuff. And what does it mean? It means he's going to lose. He's going to lose, as Trump would say, bigly. All lies, says Merle. Man, Merle, I want to live in your world. Man, I want to live in your world, Merle. He's going to lose. He's going to get killed. So, MAGA, thank you because of you, MAGA. And by the way, I don't say this pejoratively. I don't say this with any meanness in my heart, my MAGA brothers and sisters. This is what we call tough love. Time for some tough love, my MAGA brothers and sisters. Because of what you did, MAGA, in North Carolina, MAGA, you're going to get a Democratic governor. Good job. Congrats. Well done. But see, so that's the result. That's how this is going to play out. And by the way, it's interesting because of what you've done, MAGA, you've increased Kamala Harris's chances of winning the state of North Carolina. Because now this Mark Robinson guy is going to get destroyed. I mean, beaten bad. That's going to impact Trump in North Carolina. Kamala Harris now could very easily win North Carolina. So, MAGA, tough love. Congratulations, MAGA. You just made it easier for Kamala Harris to win the state of North Carolina. But that's the result. That's what's going to happen. But see, here's my bigger story. Here's my bigger thought. And I've been thinking this and saying this for a while. And I come from MAGA. I voted for Trump in 2016. I was part of MAGA. Here's the problem. And I've said this ever since I left MAGA. Mark Robinson is no surprise. The fact that this guy is a popular Republican, this bad, horrible human being, the fact that this guy in today's Republican Party is a candidate for governor, no surprise. Put Mark Robinson on that list of, I don't know, MTG, Lauren Boebert, Herschel Walker. Remember all the stuff Herschel Walker had on him? Carrie Lake, Matt Gaetz, Doug Mastriano. Remember that crazy MAGA guy who ran for governor of Pennsylvania 2 years ago? MAGA, because of you, because you nominated a crazy MAGA guy in Pennsylvania, you gave the governor's house in Pennsylvania to a Democrat, Josh Shapiro. Look, none of this is a surprise. Mark Robinson isn't a surprise. A party led by Donald Trump is going to have a whole bunch of Mark Robinsons. And maybe you'll jump on me about this. Feel free, respectfully. There's no difference between Mark Robinson and Donald Trump. There's no difference between MTG and Donald Trump. There's no difference between Matt Gaetz and Donald Trump. There's no difference between Herschel Walker and Donald Trump. There's no difference between Doug Mastriano and Donald Trump. There's no difference between Carrie Lake and Donald Trump. By the way, MAGA Republicans, all you MAGA Republicans in Arizona, a Democrat will be the next senator from the state of Arizona, Ruben Gallego, because of you, MAGA, because you nominated an election denying, lying, crazy Kari Lake. MAGA Democrats now are going to own both Senate seats in Arizona. Kari Lake's getting destroyed right now. She's going to lose again bigly. But it's not a surprise. This is a party led by Donald Trump. Like, there's no difference between Donald Trump and Kari Lake. I get asked that a lot whenever I'm on TV and whenever a reporter or a journalist interviews me. They ask me about, oh, Joe, just yesterday, Joe, how could this Mark Robinson thing happen in North Carolina? I was asked the same question about Lauren Boebert. I was asked the same question about MTG, about Kari Lake. I've been asked this question the last 2 to 3 election cycles. My answer always is, Kari Lake is Donald Trump. Mark Robinson is Donald Trump. Matt Gaetz is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the leader of the Republican Party. He's a crazy. He's a bad, horrible guy. He's the guy who had dinner with a Jew-hating Holocaust denier. Trump did that. Cheating on your spouses? RFK Jr. and Mark Robinson and all these others who've been unfaithful? Man, Donald Trump is the king of cheating on his spouses. The point is, MAGA and my former party decided to make their leader, their cult leader, a MAGA crazy, an election denying crazy. Like, Joe, I'm always asked, oh my word, Joe Walsh, why do all these election deniers win these Republican primaries? Excuse me? Excuse me? Look at the top of the party. Who's the head of the party? An election denier. Don't go after Kari Lake or Mark Robinson, who is also an election denier. All these Republicans who won in 2022, won primaries in 2022, an important distinction because most of them lose the general election. But all of these Republicans who won primaries in 2022, and they won primaries again in 2024, in the main, they're all election deniers. And still, people in the media are surprised, and still people in the media ask me, how can that happen? And I say, are you kidding me? Look at Trump. Trump's the leader of this party. It's his party. He is an election denier. Makes all the sense in the world. He won the Republican primary. And by the way, everybody Trump ran against in this latest primary, they were all election deniers. They were all election deniers. All the ones, like if Trump didn't run, an election denier would have won. Ron DeSantis would have won the Republican primary for president. It's an election denying party. That's a big part of what MAGA is. Look, a party led by a bad, horrible guy is going to get a bunch of candidates who have bad, horrible character. And even a lot of you Trump supporters, you'd agree with me. Donald Trump has bad, horrible character. You don't care. So it's not a surprise that a lot of Republicans who win primaries have bad, horrible character. Trump's unfaithful. Trump is a serial adulterer. You didn't care, MAGA. So it's not surprising that a lot of serial adulterers, a lot of unfaithful to their spouses candidates win Republican primaries. Donald Trump is a pathological liar. You don't care about that, MAGA. So it's not surprising that Mark Robinson and Matt Gaetz and all of the rest, that they are utterly dishonest characters and they win primaries. This is the party. It's his party. And so it's not surprising at all that you're going to see Mark Robinsons, people like Mark Robinson, winning primaries, Republican primaries in 2022, in 2024, and probably in 2026. This is Trump's party. Republican voters, once you said, Donald Trump, I'm yours, this party is yours, Republican voters, you gave the green light to all of these bad, horrible, MAGA crazy election denying candidates running for the House and running for the Senate and running for gubernatorial positions, houses all over the country. You gave permission to this. And that leads me to my second point this Friday, guys. Joe Walsh will have a sex change. Andrew Moore, that's a hell of a message to send on a day like today, when the candidate for governor, Andrew, the Republican candidate for governor, Andrew, in the state of North Carolina, just came out yesterday, has a history of love and watching transgender porn. You best send that message, Andrew, to Mark Robinson. My second point, though, is this. Some people yesterday, when all this shit came out about Mark Robinson, asking why wasn't Mark Robinson vetted? Excuse me, he was vetted. The problem isn't that Mark Robinson wasn't vetted. The problem is he was vetted, and Republican voters did not care about his bad, horrible stuff. It's the same thing with Donald Trump. Republican voters, guys, for 8 years, guys, have made crystal clear they don't care about anything bad or horrible Trump says or does. When Donald Trump said during that 2016 election, when it came out that Trump said, and it was Trump's words, right? This is not the big bad mainstream media. In Trump's own words during that campaign, he said, I love grabbing women by their private parts because I'm a celebrity and there's nothing they can do about it. Trump said that. You then elected him. So it didn't and doesn't matter to you. That's the bigger issue, guys, that we've got here. That's the bigger issue that we've got. In this age of Trump, Trump voters have said, Joe, damn it, character does not matter. Character doesn't matter. And by the way, that's a problem, MAGA voters, because you can never, ever, 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 ever bitch, moan, and complain about a Democratic candidate's character ever again. Like you said, character mattered to you back when Bill Clinton was doing his thing. Now it doesn't matter when it's Trump doing his thing. Republican voters in the age of Trump have said character doesn't matter. Boom! They've thrown that down. Character does not matter. The problem is when you do that, you will get people of horrible character running and winning Republican primaries. And these people of horrible, utterly horrible character, people who say the Holocaust never happened, people who say they're pro-life and then pressure women into having abortions, people who go after the LGBTQ community in ugly, horrific ways, and then love to watch transgender porn. Carr says character and values once mattered to the GOP. The party's morphed into a party that welcomes bigots, creeps, and con artists. Carr, that's really well said. When character doesn't matter. MAGA. Remember, my MAGA brothers and sisters, I'm preaching this morning. This is church. This is tough love. This is the stuff I want you thinking about, because you're going to pay a price for this, MAGA voters. You've said now, the past 4 elections, that character does not matter. And so Trump then can be as bad and utterly devoid of character as possible. You've told him it doesn't matter. Remember when Trump said, I can shoot somebody in the middle of New York City and these people are still going to vote for me. Chris, Trump said that if he shot somebody in the middle of New York City, you would still vote for him. My MAGA friends, you told that to Trump. He believes that, which is why he believes he can do anything. He can do anything despicable. He can do anything cruel. He can do anything hateful. He can do anything dishonest. He can cheat on his wife. I was about to say wives. He's cheated on his wives forever. Donald Trump can cheat on his wife, and you've said you don't care. The problem is, outside of Trump, who's won 1 election, almost all of these other Mark Robinsons and Doug Mastrianos and Matt Gaetzes and Herschel Walkers and Kerry Lakes of the world, and it's a long, long, long list. Most of them, they win Republican primaries and they lose the general election. That's been what's happening. Arizona's current Democratic Senator, Mark Kelly, won because Republicans nominated a batshit crazy election denier in 2022, Blake Masters. They've done the same thing with Kerry Lake. So you're paying a price, MAGA. You're losing seats. And by the way, MAGA gut check, any other Republican besides Donald Trump, I'll say this, would probably win this year, probably going away. Nikki Haley would win this year going away. Ron DeSantis would probably win this year. I'm no fan of Ron DeSantis, but he'd probably win. Almost anybody else you would have nominated, MAGA, probably would have won. But you nominated a guy who most Americans can't stand because he's a bad, horrible guy. I know it doesn't matter to you, but people outside of MAGA vote in November, and they're not going to vote for him. So, like, the problem isn't Trump. Trump's who he is. You and me in 2016, when I voted for Trump, I gave him permission because I knew he was a bad, horrible guy, and I still voted for him. I've got to live with that. But all of us who've voted for Trump, we're the problem. We're to blame. Trump's not to blame. I mean, think about it, guys. Donald Trump has told us over and over and over and over every day for years who he is. The problem is us, you MAGA, you keep voting for him. Mark Robinson isn't the problem in the state of North Carolina. Republican voters in the state of North Carolina are the problem because they knew who Mark Robinson was, and they said it doesn't matter. I don't blame Mark Robinson for watching porn 5 days a week. It's not my thing. But Republican voters knew that. And they said, cool, I'm down with that. Doesn't matter. It's not, Mark Robinson is a Holocaust denier. I find that utterly despicable. But I don't blame him because he's told us who he is. Republican voters in North Carolina said they don't care that he's a Holocaust denier. And they won him the nomination. You see where I'm going? TikTok, even you, TikTok. Yeah, I didn't mean to take a shot at you, TikTok. You see where I'm going. This is what pains me and saddens me because I come from MAGA. And a bunch of MAGA candidates are going to lose in November. And if Trump loses, it will be because of this. But I still don't think the average MAGA voter out there is going to sit up and take notice and say to themselves, oh my God, we have to stop voting for these crazy election deniers. We have to stop nominating these bad people. Character should matter. It makes me really sad because I will say, and I'm sure many of my Democratic listeners right now disagree with me, these are good folk. I'll die on that hill. Most of the people voting for Donald Trump are good people. They are good, God-fearing people. They've been fooled. They've been deceived. They've been lied to. They've been inflamed. They've been bullshitted. They are responsible for what they do, and they are responsible for who they vote for. But man, I think every MAGA voter is utterly redeemable. I engage with MAGA folk every single day. And I know this, guys. I know this, crescendo. This Republican Party, my former party, ain't never coming back. And when I say coming back, guys, I don't mean come back to some Mitt Romney establishment party. I'm not an establishment guy. I'm a free market Tea Party guy. The Republican Party will never be a party that supports free trade, free markets, limited government, tolerance, welcomes immigrants into this country legally, opportunity for all. Republican Party's never going to be that kind of party again unless the voters wake up and change. Republican Party will never not be a MAGA Trumpy party unless the voters change. Trump may lose in November. He may lose by a lot. He may lose by little. But unless Republican voters say, this shit is wrong, this stuff, unless Republican voters wake up and say, we can't vote for these guys like Mark Robinson anymore. We cannot and should not vote for anyone who says they're pro-life and then pressured women to have abortions. We shouldn't vote for anyone that dishonest, that disingenuous. Until Republican voters make that call, make that decision, the Republican Party ain't never coming back. I'm asked that question all the time. Joe, what's going to happen after Trump? Joe, what's going to happen if Trump loses? I'm not optimistic. I've got some hope because I listen to Trump voters every day, but I'm not hugely optimistic because I know there needs to be a major, major change among the base of the Republican Party, among the most involved, committed, energized Republican voters. Karen from Connecticut, what will it take for the voters to change, to realize there have been so many lies, so much distortion of reality? Karen from Connecticut, that's the question I ask myself every day. What will it take for Republican voters to realize they've been lied to? they're being lied to. I don't know, Karen. I know it's going to take other voices, maybe like myself, respectfully, tough love with Republican voters. But it's going to take leaders among Republican voters to help wake their people up. But right now, I mean, think about it, Karen from Connecticut. The most popular voices for Republican voters right now are who? Donald Trump, number one. He lies to Republican voters every day. Who's the second most popular person among Republican voters? Tucker Carlson, number two. He's an absolute bullshit artist who feeds his audience bullshit and lies every day. It's why he's no longer with Fox News, because Tucker Carlson knew that the election wasn't stolen, but he said it was. Tucker Carlson knew that Donald Trump was a bad guy, but he told his audience Trump was a good guy. So there's two of the biggest voices for the average Republican voters, and they are pathological liars. They push disinformation every single day. And then beyond that, you go down the list. Most of the right-wing voices, the most popular right-wing voices today, politicians and radio talk show hosts and Fox News people, the most popular ones are liars and bullshit artists and peddlers of disinformation. Whoa! RFK Jr. right now is a popular voice for the average Republican voters. RFK Jr. He is an utter fraud. He's a pathological liar. It just came out yesterday that he's been cheating on his current wife again. He kept a diary. RFK Jr., this came out a couple years ago. RFK Jr. kept a diary about 10 years ago, kept a diary of all the women he had sex with one year while cheating on his then former wife. That's RFK Jr. His former wife then got a hold of that diary and killed herself. What a scumbag RFK Jr. is. But RFK Jr., a cheating, lying scumbag, is a popular voice for the average Republican voter out there. Elon Musk, the wealthiest, biggest peddler of disinformation. As long as the average Republican voter listens, say, to Jesse Waters, what an unserious guy he is. Jesse Waters of the Five on Fox News, who said just yesterday, when all this stuff about Mark Robinson broke, Jesse Waters said, I don't know him. Mark who? Mark who? Never heard of him. Jesse Waters said that yesterday after all this shit broke. Jesse Waters had Mark Robinson on his show a few months ago. But yesterday he said, I don't know the guy. He said that to every Republican voter. So Karen, as long as these are the people the average MAGA voter listens to, it's not going to change anytime soon. And it will be a party full of people who believe lies, ugly lies. It will be a party full of people who vote for bad, horrible, dishonest people. Sadly, I'm making a pitch for a job right now. This is an open pitch for a job. Any syndicated radio company out there, any media company out there, any conservative talk radio company out there, put me, this former conservative talker, give me another syndicated talk radio show. Karen, I used to be syndicated around the country, a really popular conservative talk radio host. And then I turned against Trump and I lost it all. But conservative radio talk show company CEOs, put somebody like me back on the air right after this election. Put me on the air right now so that I, a conservative, can get in front of MAGA voters every single day and not lie to them and put truth in front of them from a conservative, not from a Democrat. Karen, I'm answering your question right now. Until Fox News or Newsmax or the heads of these talk radio stations put somebody like me on the air, a conservative who will not lie and bullshit to their audience, who will not bow down to Donald Trump, until the conservative media bosses do something like that. And it's going to take one of them to have the courage to do that, especially after Trump loses. They got to start thinking, oh my God, Trump lost. We're in trouble. We got this voting base that believes all this bullshit, all the lies, all the election denial stuff. I got to find a conservative that I can put on the air who is a conservative, who's pro-gun, pro-Israel, all the rest, but he's not a Trumpy election denying liar like a Joe Walsh. Karen, until that happens, and that's going to take courage, but somebody's got to put some voice like mine out there in front of MAGA voters day after day, and then another person in front of MAGA voters day after day. And my Democratic friends, it can't be you. Can't be anybody on MSNBC, can't be any lib, can't be any progressive. The way to help change, the way to help wake up the Republican Party voting base can only come through conservative, honest, conservative voices like mine. So there, somebody hire me. I'll go on the radio tomorrow and talk to my MAGA brothers and sisters. I'll go on tomorrow, man, and I'll give them a little bale full of truth every day. And by the way, I think the ratings would be great because initially a lot of haters would listen to me. Hey, I did something last night I've never done. I went and saw Caitlyn Clark play basketball in person, live and in person. I love Caitlyn Clark. She is my most favorite professional athlete in the world right now. It was a treat. She didn't play a lot because the Indiana Fever have already locked up their playoff spot, but I had a great seat. I was sitting maybe 15 feet away from her. She is just wonderful. And by the way, this was in Washington, D.C., the largest crowd in WNBA history. And by the way, MAGA, you'll agree with me on this. WNBA, you suck. WNBA, you suck. This crowd last night, the largest WNBA crowd in league history, 20,000 something. And everybody was there. Older people, middle-aged people, white, black, brown, little girls, little boys, men like me, all to see her play. The WNBA, you suck. The WNBA put out their playoff graphic today, listing all the teams that are in the WNBA playoffs that start on Sunday. And for every team in the playoff, they had the star player for that team on this playoff graphic. Guess who the WNBA kept off of this big, beautiful playoff graphic? Caitlyn Clark. Caitlyn Clark. The single best thing to happen to the WNBA, the rookie of the year. She will be a first team all WNBA. I think she's the best all-around college. She's the best all-around female basketball player on the planet. She's the most popular player in the WNBA. And the WNBA purposely kept her off of their big playoff graphic. that they send out to everybody, just reinforcing this narrative of how bitter and resentful this league has been to Caitlyn Clark, which is just a shame, because Caitlyn Clark is the single best thing to happen to the WNBA. But because of jealousy and bitterness, and maybe there's some racial issues and resentment, the WNBA has treated Caitlyn Clark like shit all year. And all she's done is play basketball. All she's done is say the right things. All she's done all year is compliment the WNBA, compliment all the players who've come before her. But way too many players in the WNBA, way too many coaches, way too many commentators, way too many people in the league office have treated Caitlyn Clark like shit. And she's the best thing to happen to that league. What a shame. What an absolute shame. They start Sunday, by the way, the Indiana Fever do, with their playoffs. I think that Brian Keller, Joe, you suck as well as the WNBA. I agree, Rochelle. It's BS that they left her off. I think that's just oh, good. Cool. Do it, Tracy. Tracy just messaged a radio person in a major market in Michigan and said, put Joe Walsh on the air. Hey, I do that, everybody. Everybody's. Send a note to your favorite talk radio station and say, I got this. I know this really interesting never Trumper conservative Joe Walsh used to be a big radio guy, radio talker. Put him on the air. We need to put truth in front of MAGA. Everybody out there, get me a job back on the radio. I'd love nothing more than every day to respectfully go at it and engage with my MAGA brothers and sisters. Have a great weekend, everybody. Send me an email if you want. Joe Walsh White Flag at gmail.com. One word. Joe Walsh White Flag, all one word, at gmail.com. Send me an email. Make it a great, great weekend. Last thing, anybody in Pennsylvania, I'm going to be in Pennsylvania on Tuesday, the 24th in the afternoon. I'm going to be in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania at a big Republicans for Harris rally. Tuesday, the 24th, the afternoon of the 24th. I'll put a link up on my socials. Be there. Have a great weekend. Be brave, everybody. Be brave.
Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.